Morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm Bill Maley, your Brighton Town Supervisor, and I'm pleased to welcome everybody to our September 12th, 2018 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. As always, it's a pleasure having people here to participate. It's also a pleasure knowing that there are people out there watching us, either live streaming or on Channel 12. However you choose to participate in tonight's meeting, we do want to make it as easy as possible. If you are here in the room, all of our material, all the material that's in our packet is on the table in the back of this room. But if you're watching at home or somewhere else remotely, you can access all of that same material from a link on the Town of Brighton webpage, townofbrighton.org, and follow along as we take action tonight. We will start with a pledge to the flag, and I will ask Councilmember Chris Warner to lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We will start tonight with our open forum. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board during the open forum? Mark? Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it. Actually, I had said to Bill ahead of time, I'm here tonight really as a proud member of the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee, and I look forward to that agenda item coming up. But as long as I was going to come this evening, in one of my other roles, I wanted to come as school board president for the Brighton Central School District, and just a couple of pieces of information. Number one, before you next meet as a group, the Brighton Community Homecoming Celebration will be held. And I just wanted to help get that word out to folks. Our thanks to the town, certainly to the police department, especially the Brighton Chamber of Commerce, their partnership with the Brighton School District to hold a community homecoming celebration on Saturday, September 22nd. And just a reminder to folks that that is a Saturday this year. It was last year. It was very successful. 10:30 in the morning, we begin at 12 Corners with all kinds of activities for the entire family. That period goes till about 1:30. The parade itself starts at about 12:45, and then the football game is at 2 o'clock. So that's turned into a tremendous community celebration for all ages. Huge numbers of families with little ones come out, so we encourage folks to come out for that. And again, we do thank Mark and the police department, certainly our public works folks, our highway department, you, Bill, and the town board. That's no small undertaking, even though we did move to a Saturday to close off that section of the street, allow the parade to happen, allow the celebration to happen, and it's really worked out well. So thank you for that, and I did want to get that message out. The other message I wanted to bring from the board and from the district tonight is another thank you really to the town and to Chief Henderson and the entire Brighton Police Department for all of the effort as we've opened school over the last 2 weeks around the various safety initiatives in and around the school buildings, especially at 12 Corners. I think most of our public hopefully has seen in the media and paid attention on social media, paid media, regular media, as far as the increased efforts around 12 Corners to make that more pedestrian, bicycle-friendly, increase traffic safety awareness. And I know from following a number of you on Twitter that multiple traffic tickets and citations were written over a short period of time to encourage folks.
Yeah, 63 tickets were issued in 3 days at the 12 in and around the schools.
And for any of us that travel that area, if you stand there, talk to our crossing guards, talk to parents who walk with their students, it's a very difficult thing, and we appreciate that effort. To do that. And I also wanted to make mention, we have a tremendous partnership with the town and the Brighton Police Department, the school district, around the variety of safety initiatives in and around the buildings. And further to that regard, and from discussion that's been held over the past little while, the school district will be launching a survey tool on Friday. So a notification will go out to all residents who've signed up for our system, and also it will be available through the website, the district website. It's a tool called Thought Exchange that we began using last year, and we're going to ask the community to weigh in on their thoughts around school safety, current initiatives, other ideas and thoughts. And then both the district and the town and the police department together will weigh in on that material as when that finishes up. So again, our thanks for that partnership. It's working very well. It has worked well. And with regard to the safety issues, all we can continue to ask folks is, those that drive, please exercise the utmost care. Don't pass a school bus with red lights on. Don't go right on red when it's not clear. And please obey the crossing guards in and around all of our schools. They're there for everyone's safety. So thank you folks very much.
Thank you very much, Mark. I know when the chief and I were out there early in the morning on the first day of school, while we were there, we watched 3 cars getting pulled over just in that relatively short period of time. And you know, like the signs say, drive like your kids live here, drive like your kids go to school here, because they do. And we appreciate everybody. You know, nothing is so important that you have to rush through that fast that you put the safety of our children and our grandchildren in jeopardy. It's just that simple. So I appreciate the message, and look forward to the parade and the football game on Saturday. Thanks, Mark. Is there anyone else that would like to address Mr. Shapiro? Come on up.
Hello, my name is Joel Shapiro, and I'm no stranger here to the county board meetings, but maybe those of you who've been around here long enough remember 18 years ago, going on 19, that I was addressing a concern that I had, you know, and I was very afraid of the Y2K, and that kind of fizzled, you know, but maybe my efforts were not in vain, that behind the scenes, they discovered some major issues and fixed them, and Y2K came and went, and everybody kind of laughed at me. But I'm here 18, going on 19 years later, with another concern that I had. But this one's tangible. This one is real. This one is scary. And for all my Y2K, you know, ranting, this one's different. Yesterday, I had only 2 minutes to speak at the county board meeting, and they're the ones that I really wanted to talk about, but it also applies to all of us, my fellow citizens here in Brighton, who are also Monroe County residents. I don't know, I'll get to the point. Have you ever heard about carfentanil? Does that ring a bell? Carfentanil is an analog of fentanyl. Perhaps you've heard of fentanyl, and it's an opioid. And fentanyl is 100 times more powerful per unit than a unit of morphine. Carfentanil, which has a chemical structure that looks like fentanyl but has a couple little methyl groups added, makes it 100 times more powerful per unit than fentanyl, which makes it 10,000 times more potent per unit than morphine. Imagine that, 10,000 times. A grain of it can kill you. And this is a picture of what a proper carfentanil address or mediation should look like. People in moon suits. This picture was the result of the RCMP, Rocky Mountain Canadian Mounties. They found in Vancouver, British Columbia, 1 kilogram of this carfentanil. This is about 1,000 milliliters of water. And in being temperature, it would weigh about 1 kilogram, which would weigh 2.2 pounds. This is enough to kill 50 million people. Okay? Now, if you think that is, a big enough metric. About a month ago, there was you've all heard of the Danforth shooter in Canada, that tragic guy had a brother, and in his basement, they found 47 kilograms of carfentanil. That was enough to kill, or what I call off, 2.1 billion people, about a quarter of the world's population, in the guy's basement. Now, there's been carfentanil findings here in upstate New York, in Gloversville. And the sheriff got really, really scared, and he outfitted his officers, more supplies of Narcan. But I don't want it to go into a long discussion, but when you're dealing with this is considered a biological weapon of mass destruction. So if enough carfentanil hits you, like more than a couple grains of salt, make that a tablespoon, it will kill you. And you're not going to have enough time. I have my here's my little, Narcan kit. You won't have enough time. You can look it up. Now, thing is, when I went to my training for this Narcan kit, they did not mention one word about carfentanil. Not one. And I brought this to the attention of my county. And one of the reasons I appreciate the extra time you're giving me here, but in my county meetings, I'm not on camera. I believe I'm on camera. And so I'll be documented for perpetuity. And, like when people have only 2 minutes to say what they want, they're cut off, and that's the end of the story. What I'm trying to say is that I made a Freedom of Information Act request. And this is weird, Joel Shapiro. I wanted to find out how much carfentanil they found in Monroe County. And I put in a FOIL request. Now, the Monroe County spent 4 months to respond to me. And that was only after I threatened them with something called an Article 78 going pro se, which means I was willing to go to court myself. At the 11th hour, they give me the Monroe County opioid report. And what happens is they have 261 instances of fentanyl and fentanyl analogs. Fentanyl analogs are what you call carfentanil. So it didn't seem right. That was a big number. So I called up the Monroe County coroner, one of the investigators, and he said, there's no, don't you worry. We didn't print any carfentanil because there's no carfentanil. We didn't find it. In the back of my mind, I remember down south in Manatee County, Florida, I'm getting to the point. There was this forensic pathologist coroner. He had a lot of dead bodies. He had a lot of people overdosed with, he was coming out in his halls. And he knew that he did not have the correct equipment to test for carfentanil because it's very, very minute. That minuteness is all that powerful. So he teamed up with the University of Florida, and they had the correct equipment. I will say, I'll quickly get technical. What the coroner had there in Manatee County and what is here in Monroe County is something I'll call a gas chromatography mass spectrometry device or instrument, GS-MS. Okay, so far so good. But it wasn't good because when they teamed up with the University of Florida, they had what you called a liquid chromatography mass spectrometry device, 2 mass spectrometry devices in one, and they found all kinds of carfentanil. Carfentanil is a game changer and should be considered with awe and fear because of its biological weapon, mass destruction. So I called up our county coroner, and I talked to the chief toxicologist. She says, I'm sorry, do we have one of these LC devices? I'm sorry, Mr. Shapiro, you're gonna have to submit a Freedom of Information Act request. So now, what I found out was, well, I called the crime lab, and he wasn't told not to talk to me. So he said, nah, we don't have any LC devices. So the point that I'm getting at is, I'm not the one that says the gas chromatography is not sufficient. It's the United Nations. So on our webpage, we proudly tell you that we have gas chromatography looking for our drugs. But the Harris County webpage, they show that they have an LC-MS/MS device. Franklin County, Ohio, they have 50 some odd number of instances recorded detected of carfentanil. I found out they have one of those devices. I called up Erie County, they have one of those devices. So, all of our policy here in Monroe County, the different towns, and I want to go, this is kind of a warm-up for me. I don't know how good my delivery is. I'm going to go to the different towns and talk to the people that our county is lying to us in that if we call them up or they don't print, like a little caveat saying that they only use gas chromatography spectrometry screening. It's a very big caveat. So my point is that it seems to me that what I'm trying to do is maybe get into your minds, why should I be the only one going to my county meeting telling us that we have insufficient equipment to test that out? So the thing is that our chief of police, he uses that information. There's no detected, carfentanil, so he has a certain standards in place. But more importantly, our county endorses us to become opioid first responders. We get a little kit, not word one about carfentanil. Because no carfentanil is detected, we don't have an emergency plan for a severe opioid event like what happened in West Virginia. In West Virginia, they had, a couple years ago, 26 people that were overdosing at the same time. This is not a regular, mass casualty event or emergency event. This is a very special one. Franklin County has one of those because they know that carfentanil is in their midst. So when you go to your Narcan training, if you are so, they're not going to talk to you about carfentanil. I was never taught about it from everybody else that I found. So this is a very, very serious issue that if we don't have the right equipment, then have the county fess up to it. And then you can make a better informed decision if you want to become a public first responder. But let me tell you, I have on my webpage is called Opioid Makers, Not Cause of Opioid Crisis.weebly.com. You want to jot that down? I know it's a long word. Opioid Makers, Not Cause of Opioid Crisis.weebly.com. I have a letter that I sent to Chief Henderson that details everything that I've talked to you and more. I say that we cannot be in an environment where our chief toxicologist doesn't have the fortitude or push to go and make some kind of notation that the statistics they are giving us is not substantial. It is not, you have to have the right tools for the job. I hope what I've conveyed to you maybe is of interest or concern, but it is of concern to me because we can be awash with carfentanil. I'll leave with on NPR. They had a segment about the open air drug markets in Rochester and how somebody from Brockport comes over here and he's amazed that in the middle of the day they're dealing drugs. I'm telling you, some part of that might be, or most likely will be carfentanil, and we'll never know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro. And I appreciate you calling me as well to discuss this. Mark, is there anything you...
Mr. Shapiro and I met for quite at length in my office. I told him I'd deliver some of his requests back. We do monitor, as I told this board, opioid overdoses. We're looking for trends. We're looking for spikes in overdose and death. The task force reported out a downtick in overdoses, so Mr. Shapiro has some legitimate concerns. I talked about our response protocols. I talked about the mass casualty events. I talked about SCBA responses. We have them in Merrill County. I have anecdotal information that there possibly is carfentanil around. I don't have concrete data. But Joel, you and I will continue to have a discussion on that.
Thank you.
Can I add something really fast?
Oh, jeez.
I don't mean to hog my time, but the difference between then and now is I'm Joel Shapiro. I'm a resident here at Brighton, and I'm just making one last comment. Between you were nice enough to me to grant me a lot of time to discuss my concerns, but in between that time and now, I made the discovery or the epiphany that we don't have the correct equipment to base our what your process or your program may not change at all in light of the discovery of carfentanil. It might. What I'm saying is that when we have data that we hold sacred as being the case, then I think when it's brought to the attention of the county, they should make every effort to be square, forthright, above board with its constituents so that we can make a better informed decision of what we want to do. I think it's a crime that if they know that they don't have the sufficient equipment to detect carfentanil, yet they're promoting Narcan training. To me, that's a crime. That's my opinion.
So, Mr.
Thank
Shapiro,
you, sir.
as I mentioned to you, I sit on the advisory board for the crime lab. I'll bring your request for equipment back to,
Thanks, Mark.
I believe his name is Mr. Clark.
it is John Clark.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board during the open forum? Hearing none, we will continue, and can I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Any discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Can I have a motion to approve and file our meeting minutes from the August 22nd, 2018 Town Board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeBonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Next, we have one public hearing tonight. We have the public hearing on the Envision Brighton 2028 Comprehensive Plan. This is a process that has been an ongoing one, but I'm first going to ask Dan, has the necessary legal notice been given in this matter?
Supervisor, notice was in the August 22nd edition of the Brighton Pittsburgh Post.
Thank you. Then I hereby declare this public hearing to be open. We're going to have a presentation in just a moment, but just a few preliminary words. Comprehensive plan is a device, it's really a roadmap. It's a roadmap for the future of a community, and developing and keeping up to date comprehensive plans is something that the town of Brighton has taken seriously for quite some time, and every 10 years or so we have tried to update our comprehensive plan. This time around was a little bit different. This process, this comprehensive plan update, was funded through a state grant, the Cleaner Greener Communities program, and it was funded with that grant because the state wants communities like ours to really focus on sustainability as we do our future land use planning. And as many of you have heard me say, one of the core values of the town of Brighton is sustainability. So for us, it made perfect sense to engage this process to develop a comprehensive plan that had as one of its primary goals the goal of making Brighton a more sustainable community. We have done that through a process that has had a series of public meetings. It is a process that has involved a steering committee, a community committee. We have several of the members of that committee here tonight, and I thank each of you and those of you that weren't able to make it tonight, because your work really allowed this process to reflect throughout, not just at the public meetings, but throughout the process, the input of people with professional knowledge and or community interest in the planning process and in sustainability. So I'm grateful for that. Jason DePonzio from our town board served as a town board liaison, and Ramsey Boehner did yeoman's duty from a staff perspective on working on the plan, as did other members of our Public Works Department, and I'm really grateful for all of that. I'm going to turn things over now to one of the members of our planning consultants team, Molly Gaudioso, who's going to make a presentation on this Envision Brighton plan, just from a process perspective. Later on our agenda tonight, we will be completing the SEQR, State Environmental Quality Review Act, process with respect to the development of the Envision Brighton plan. We will be asking the board to take action to adopt the finding statement under SEQR on the plan, and following tonight's public hearing, at our next town board meeting on September 26th, we'll be asking the town board to take action to formally adopt this Envision Brighton plan. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to Molly. We'll go out where we can see your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor and members of the town board. Give you a second to orient yourselves. Most of what this presentation will cover tonight is really just an overview of the process that we utilized with the town and the steering committee to come up with the updated draft plan and the actual contents itself of the plan. So with our planning process, this started and kicked off back in the summer of 2015. Came up with a public participation plan at that time as well. And then throughout the process over the last 3 years, we've been working on each individual aspect of the document, starting with a market study and a key issue document that looked at some existing conditions within the town. We started looking towards vision and policy statements, utilizing the existing comprehensive plan as our guide. Being that this was a NYSERDA-funded project and that one of the town's key tenets is sustainability, we looked at a sustainability report with metrics through guidance of NYSERDA to put that together to help guide the recommendations and actions contained within the plan. Another aspect, a large aspect of this process was the Buckland Park Master Plan. I'll touch on that a little later on as I go through the elements of the plan. And by the summer and fall of 2017, we really had the bulk of the document drafted and put together. And then as we got into 2018, that's where we came up with the draft and started completing the seeker requirements, which leaves us to where we are now in the adoption process. There's been several public outreach efforts. As the supervisor noted, all of the public project committee meetings have included representation from the town. We've had a public workshop to kick things off, which was more of a, less of us talking, more of the community talking, tell us what your thoughts are, your values, vision, etc. at the public workshop in October of 2015. There was a booth also at that time at the farmers market. We conducted community survey, and that was sort of ongoing. It happened both online and via text. There was a text survey too, actually. It's pretty cool. There was a public workshop that then was also held in February of 2016 with some of the more tangible elements of the plan, then an open house for the actual Buckland Park Master Plan, and finally with the draft document, most recently back in August, there was an open house event held here where we gave a similar presentation and allowed attendees the opportunity to review all the aspects of the plan and comment on them in an open house fashion downstairs. And then obviously there's also tonight's public hearing. Just some pictures and examples of the different types of engagement that we've done throughout the process. Really tried to make sure that this was something that was, engaging. It wasn't necessary. Sit down, listen to what we're saying. We really wanted to hear the ideas and get the thoughts out of the community itself. So looking at the actual Envision Brighton 2028 plan, there's 3 volumes to this document. As I said, there were a lot of pieces that went into the development of the update and that helped make the organization of this serve best in 3 volumes. So what's in the plan is the answer to the following questions. Where are we now? That is found in the Volume 1 Existing Conditions section of the update. Answers to where are we going and how will we get there is the Volume 2, your Vision and Development section of the plan. And those 2 volumes together essentially create the bulk of the plan. I'll touch on this a little bit later, but all the language in here, is rooted in the existing direction of the town's current comprehensive plan. We just utilize the updated public input, the input from the steering committee, and some other elements to help give it new life and vision. And then finally, the Volume 3 is the appendices, so you'll find the market study and the sustainability report and more of the bulk of the background documents in the appendices. Within Volume 1, like I said, it's the introduction. There is a market assessment, a community profile, which talks about existing conditions when it comes to parks, pedestrian connections, ties in a lot of the existing community resources. There's an existing land use summary and a zoning code analysis, and all of that information was utilized to help frame the recommendations that were put into the vision and development section. There's a vision statement in Volume 2. There's individual policy statements and recommendations as part of that volume as well. And then there are specific focus area, land use focus area maps, as well as narratives with recommendations supporting that in that section, and a conclusion for the document. And like I said, these are all the elements contained within the appendices. All the public input summaries from the meetings, larger versions of the maps are available in the appendix, as well as the eventually the final GEIS. So the vision and policy framework are going to jump to the forward-looking section of the documents. That's really where a bulk of the action takes place, and the future-looking elements are. The vision statement and the policy framework is intended to be built so that it goes from more broad to specific. So the vision statement is generally something that should, have a longevity for the town, and looking at what it is that Brighton wants to be to 2028, 2030. It's very mom and apple pie, highlighting the things that residents and stakeholders really value about the community. And then each of the policy areas identified underneath the vision statement are the same thought process and level of thinking in terms of length and vision, but it's a little bit more directed to certain topics. So, for example, the four in this plan are community, economy, environment, and public health and safety. And then each one of those has objectives specific to the policies underneath and recommendations, and I'll show you how that's structured in the plan in a minute. This is really the only thing I'll read to you from the actual comprehensive plan tonight, but this is the vision statement itself. It reads, "Envision Brighton, centrally located in the Rochester metropolitan region, the town of Brighton has long been a community celebrated for its history, cultural diversity, and educational opportunities. In planning for the future, our commitment to the Brighton community will be to actively promote our sense of community and social equity, preserve and protect our environmental assets, support a vibrant economic climate, and ensure the public health, safety, and welfare for all. We will strive to achieve this vision by implementing sustainable policies on a community-wide platform through the actions of our local leaders, business partners, and engaged residents. With the pursuit of our town vision, we will also work to provide leadership and actively participate in efforts to improve the overall environmental, economic, and social health of the Rochester metropolitan region." So each of those bullets, as I noted before, are the policy areas contained within the plan, sustainability being one of the key overarching themes within this document. The policy statements are set up to have their own statement in the beginning, followed by the objectives. Environmental policy area focuses a lot of, obviously, on natural environment, maintaining, the existing natural resources within the town, taking a look at open space, parkland, promoting environmental stewardship, all of those elements. The sense of community policy statement includes quite a bit more. It's more about the livability and the sense of community, social aspects of the community, talking about, provision of affordable and quality housing options, increasing connectivity when it comes to, universal design and transportation, protecting existing neighborhoods and enhancing historic qualities of the community, moving forward. The economic vitality policy statement focuses obviously on the presence of small businesses, the industries, the educational institutions that exist within the community, and speaks to ways in which those aspects may be enhanced. Multimodal transportation opportunities are certainly present, references to, existing plans and great work that's been done previously, like Bike Walk Brighton, are included as well as part of this section. And then, working towards how the town can help to support its existing businesses and institutions moving forward. Public and health and safety, pretty straightforward, but acknowledging, as it's already been said tonight, by the great work that's done by local police, fire, different intellectual and spiritual resources within the community, and how those can really promote the physical health and well-being of Brighton residents. So this is an example of a page within the plan underneath one of the policy areas. And what this looks like is the table itself is the recommendation. So you see the policy statement, the objectives, and then the tables list the individual recommendations, which are then coded to let you know what specific objectives underneath each one of those policy areas it's intended to help achieve. And then each section also has a listing of existing tools. Like I said, there's a lot of great work, previous planning work that's been done by the town throughout the years. Monroe Avenue Design Guidelines is a good example of that, as I said before, Bike Walk Brighton. So we reference some of those elements because, rather than creating a kitchen sink effect with the comprehensive plan, it's really meant to be more, as Supervisor said, a guide and a roadmap to help direct you to where, the more specific recommendations of some of those elements are. In the land use section of the document, this is where we've identified the focus areas and specific recommendations, whether it be to preserve, protect, enhance, or promote a change in the development character of various aspects of the town. So this is what the actual larger version of the land use focus area map looks like. You see there's a large chunk of yellow, low density residential within the town. A lot of that established neighborhoods, isn't something that we addressed heavily as part of this section, just because it's a lot of the keep on keeping on, in the sense that, we've heard a lot of great things about the neighborhoods and want to preserve and protect them moving forward, but identify some of the other areas of focus. A big concept that came out of looking at the future land use section of this document is the Rochester multiversity concept. This is looking at where U of R, RIT, and MCC sort of form this triangle within the town, and the idea of the Rochester multiversity concept is to connect them, not through development per se, but more as multimodal transportation opportunities, whether it be off-road or on-road, bicycle, pedestrian facilities, help to create sort of this nodal feel and presence of those institutions, which bring a lot to the community and were referenced heavily both in the market assessment and from the public as great assets for the community. So the document speaks at length about this multiversity concept and how we can develop that from a connectivity standpoint, transportation standpoint, but also a cultural, educational standpoint moving forward. This is one of the future land use or land use focus area maps. Each one you'll see they've identified, there are various land use categories that are identified, whether it be government, low density residential, neighborhood commercial. All of those are summarized in the plan to provide what it is that we're talking about. What's the difference between general commercial and neighborhood commercial? What are the scale of the uses? What are the kinds of uses that we'd be looking at entertaining moving forward? And for example, this Monroe Avenue piece, particularly around 12 Corners, implements some of the recommendations and guidance of the Monroe Avenue design guidelines and the Monroe Avenue planning that's been done before, talking about, you see there's a purple boundary around 12 Corners, permitting a higher density, taller development at 12 Corners to help create that nodal feel, give it that sort of Main Street town center element, and then the blue boundary further down is where you denote the 1 to 2 story. So it's important to note that a lot of this, although it does look very parcel based, like a zoning map, it's not. This isn't zoning. It's really just meant to be a guide for future investment and development moving forward. So again, what this looks like from Monroe Avenue South. We've identified South Clinton Avenue as another focus area, taking a look at the opportunities for neighborhood commercial mixed use along that corridor, general commercial where the tops exist, how those commercial elements may be able to support the existing office uses that are there. The Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road section, looking at utilizing some of the existing tools the town has, like the top zoning to help create transitional areas from existing residential development to, in this case, the Canal View Office Park. West Henrietta Road, again, this has really been noted as an area that warrants further study and thought when it comes to what future uses look like along that corridor and what's the character, the feel that the town wants to foster. Westfall Road area with Buckland Park, a huge element of this is the Buckland Park Master Plan, and then the opportunities for development adjacent to that or surrounding that. The Buckland Park Master Plan is something that's talked about within the plan, highlights the area as well as, it's nice to see the town is able to take action on that already and looking at the acquisition of another adjacent parcel to that. But the Buckland Park Master Plan really is a big result of one of the responses from the public input summary as the #1 priority that residents identified moving forward for the town was the conservation of open space. And that was far and above that of some of the other options that were kind of put out there with it as part of the survey or other things that were brought forth. So the Buckland Park Master Plan is, had the purpose of establishing a vision for that area, providing the opportunity to preserve open space and ecological assets while also utilizing both passive and active recreational elements and connecting them. And then the actual summary itself, there's several different elements considered and talked about within the plan, one being the Brighton Winters Farmers Market plan, community center, different trails and extensions through there, arboretum, multimodal connectivity both within the park, as I said, but also off-site as well to bring people in and out of the park area on foot or by bike. So this is an example of what that looks like within the plan. You can see there's some more active recreational things noted, like baseball fields, in addition to, like I said, the more passive elements like trails and walks, preserves. So that's the bulk of the plan, the bulk of the forward-looking section of the document itself. The whole creation of this document, as the supervisor said, is the hard work of the steering committee of town staff like Ramsey and Mike, and a lot of support that was provided by NYSERDA and some of the other members of the consultant team to bring the environmental and economic pieces of this document together. So if you get a chance, you should take a look at it. If you haven't already, read through it. Lots of good information in there, and looking forward to hearing what you have to say tonight.
Thank you very much, Molly. If you weren't noticing, that was no notes. I mean, that's your immersion in the project is really remarkable, and I so appreciate your role in the last community meeting last month, which I do think went very well. Again, just that mission statement that we started with, talking about education, talking about diversity, and obviously focusing on sustainability. You, as a consulting group, really picked up on the psyche, the ethos of the Brighton community, and I think what we see in the work product reflects that. I do want to note, by the way, that the document is available on our town website, and you can review it. Again, tonight, later, we will be taking action on the finding statement and looking to adopt the actual plan at our next meeting on the 26th. But we are in a public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to address the board in the audience at this time with comments on the Envision Brighton 2028 comprehensive plan? Yes, Frank, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. This is somewhat
Frank,
tangential.
if you would just
Frank
state your name.
Sciarramano, Brighton resident and chair of the steering committee. Somewhat tangential to the purpose of the hearing, but I wanted to thank the board, the town board, for being thoughtful in your appointments to the steering committee. We were a very good group. We got the work done. We all got along, and I give you credit for your careful scrutiny and wise choices of the membership. So I thank you for that.
Great. Thank you very much, Frank. And boy, we knew as we were looking at the resumes and appointing people, it again confirmed what we say, and so very true. The talent, the capabilities, but also the commitment of the people of Brighton to projects like these are extraordinary, and we really do thank you each for the work you put in. Are there any other comments concerning the plan? I'll just ask Ramsey, do you see, as the staff for the process, do you see a need to keep the public hearing open through the next meeting to get comments again at the next meeting? We had a very extensive
I think at this point, we've had a pretty extensive process. The August 2nd public meeting, we got a lot of good feedback, a lot of positive feedback. We had a written comment period for weeks. And based on all that information, the last tweaks of the plan were made, which was the plan that was presented tonight. So I do think that you can close the public hearing. I also do believe that we could also adopt the finding statement. I've heard nothing that would make me think that there's any additional adverse impacts that we would need to address. And I do concur with, at the next town board meeting, which I believe is the 26th.
Correct.
That at that time I would be recommending to this board to adopt the comprehensive plan as recommended by the steering committee.
Thanks, Randy.
And lastly, I would also like to thank the steering committee for all your hard work and dedication and effort through the years.
You saw it firsthand.
I saw it firsthand, so thank you. And thank you for coming tonight.
Thanks, Ramsey. One last chance. Would anybody like to make any further comments on the comprehensive plan? Hearing none, then I declare this public hearing to be closed. Thank you. We will then move on our agenda tonight. We have a number of items of communication. Can I have a motion to receive and file the communications?
So moved. Second.
Again, we have a number of items of communication tonight. First, we do have from Dr. Kevin McGowan, Superintendent of the Brighton Central School District. We have a communication dated August 10th relating to diversity and equity. Communication from Governor Cuomo relating to the Rock the Riverway initiative, which was reflected in a public announcement held last month downtown, the work that's being proposed to be done and the grant funding that's being proposed for the Genesee River. Obviously, the Genesee River continues into the town of Brighton, and we look forward to seeing what is done in the city, but also looking forward to what opportunities there might be to connect with the town of Brighton. We also have communication relating to the Auburn Trail and the Mario's Plaza property, the proposed Whole Foods project. One thing I do want to note, in that letter, Mr. Kroll and Ms. DeSantis ask about the trail and whether improvements can be made. And those trail improvements are really one of the critical amenities that are coming to the town and to our residents through the incentive zoning process. Incentive zoning, as I've said many times, is one of the most important tools in our land use toolbox, and it's a tool that Brighton has used effectively for many, many years, over 20 years. I believe, not without some pretty good basis for saying so, that we have done so more effectively, I believe, than any other community in the state of New York. And as part of this project, and there are many benefits that will come to the town from the Whole Foods project, including approximately $400,000 a year in tax revenues, traffic safety amenities that will be paid for by the developer, and trail amenities, the purchase of nearly 2 miles of trail right-of-way, and the improvement of much of that trail right-of-way in a manner very similar to the Brickyard Trail that runs from Elmwood Avenue to Westfall Road, nearly across the street out there. So to answer the question that you pose in your letter, Mr. Kroll and Ms. DeSantis, yes. As part of the Whole Foods project, the Auburn Trail will be improved. It will be made open to the public from the Pittsford Town Line up to Highland Avenue. We have communication from the State Agriculture and Markets Division of Animal Industry relating to the inspection of the town's shelter that the town uses for animals that are found unlicensed and sheltered. Have correspondence from the Secretary of State relating to the City of Rochester's local waterfront revitalization program. And another very, very important planning document from Rochelle Bell, the planning manager of Monroe County, the 2019 through 2024 Monroe County Capital Improvement Program. The full program, the full CIP, is available for review in the town clerk's office, and it's quite a lengthy document, but it's a picture of what the county sees going forward in terms of major land use, infrastructure, and related projects over the next 5 years. So we have a motion to receive and file those items of communication. Any discussion on any of those? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Committee reports. Robin, Community Services.
Bill, the Community Services Committee has not convened since the last town board meeting. Our next meeting will be held on Wednesday, September 19th at 9:30 a.m. at the Brookside School, 220 Idlewood Road. As always, we welcome members of the public to attend.
Thank you very much. Jason, Finance?
Yes, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met on September 4th. Each of the items that were presented to the committee will be presented on tonight's town board agenda for review and for a vote. Our next regularly scheduled meeting of the Finance and Administrative Services Committee will be on Tuesday, September 18th. We meet here in Town Hall at the Stage Conference Room at 3:30 in the afternoon, and the public is invited to attend.
Thanks, Jason. Public safety, Jim.
Public safety is scheduled again for next week, and we'll be reporting on that summary at the next town council meeting.
Thank you very much. Chris, Public Works?
Public Works, and Mr. DePoncio had a busy day on September 4th,
That's
also
right,
chairing
Jason
the
was-
Public Works Committee in my absence, and thanks, Jason. There were discussions regarding a RFQ, request for qualifications for the Operations Center lighting study to determine whether or not we can convert to LED fixtures, which might anticipate savings of some 60 to 80% of our electricity consumption and cost, and longer fixture life. Also, there's discussion of the geotechnical evaluation of the Washington Drive and an RFQ there as well that might alleviate some stormwater discharge and runoff there on that extremely steep bank by installing some dry wells in that area. So we'll see what comes back on that. Also, there's a report that the work over at the Buckland Park drainage enhancement was done by town forces, and the work is complete there. And Mike, how does that look right now?
You know, Stevie Zimmer thinks it looks great. So they planted some wildflowers. We're kind of waiting for the wildflowers to come up, and that'll make it, it'll stabilize the soils.
But it's opened up that old drainage system.
Oh, absolutely. So you're seeing water flow down through
The
there.
flow is great. I do walk over there pretty much every day. I go over to take a look at the flow. It is flowing well. I would also mention, if you want to see deer, boy, that's the place to see deer in the morning. I saw 8 of them there yesterday, 5 of them there this morning. So
It's just
they
interesting.
may be eating the flowers when they come up, but
It's just interesting that by reinstating that old farmer's drainage system, that somebody knew what they were doing when they put that in.
Yeah, it's, you know, you can see, you walk over there, you can absolutely see flow in that stream.
That's great. We're going to study again the Glen Road no parking law. Mr. Gordon is at work with staff to make perhaps some corrections because of distances found to be somewhat inaccurate with respect to the no parking signs. Also, there's discussion of the proposed pesticide use for some trees along Hartfeld Drive, Pelham Road, and Fair Oaks and the Meredith Pocket Park. Tree Council was consulted regarding the use of pesticides, and their recommendation was simply to remove and replant. The Monroe GIG project is on schedule, and there's the expectation we'll finish it well. Boy, if you take a drive along Monroe Avenue, it really looks terrific.
Beautiful.
And I still see our troops out there working very hard. The Blossom Road Sanitary Sewer Project is considering working on Saturdays. We'd like to begin construction this week. That would be this past week, Mike, have they actually started?
Well, we've gotten new correspondence from the contractor. I believe they're going to start on the 17th.
Okay, so it's coming right up, and they hope to be completed there in 2 weeks. Again, further discussion of the A-frame signs and some discussion that the town, although does not want to really get into regulating the copy or the content of the signs, but the regulations will concentrate on the location of A-frame signs and consider pedestrian safety. And then also looking at other types of advertising signs. And we know that if we're going to have a code provision, it has to be enforceable. The comprehensive plan hearing it was to be tonight. That was anticipated. And the Route 96 reconstruction improvements the schedule is being circulated to all town board members. And Mike, there's supposedly restriping, is that correct, this fall?
The intent right now, you're going to see RG&Es out there repairing gas services and making crossovers across the lanes on Route 96. The contractor's going to do some patching, but it is the intent to restripe it this year to get people ready for the new traffic pattern in the upcoming years.
Yep, the construction itself won't be till next year.
Won't be until next year. The repaving, and they'll restripe it again at that point.
And our next meeting for Public Works, October 2nd at 9:00 a.m. here at Town Hall.
thank you, Chris. Moving to new business, Jason, reading and approval of claims.
Yes, earlier today I reviewed claims totaling $479,950.40. Notable claims include a Davy Tree Service in the amount of $32,256 for bucket truck rental for tree maintenance and replacement program, and it looked like the invoices were from February and March, relating back to the windstorm that we had. Also to the Depository Trust Company in the amount of $23,850, representing an interest payment for our existing 2007 bonds related to parkland acquisition and redevelopment. Those bonds were refinanced in 2016. Also to Horticultural Associates of Rochester Incorporated in the amount of $6,223 to furnish and deliver trees to the Monroe Avenue Green Street program, the GIGP. Also to Rochester Asphalt Materials in the amount of $78,531.81, representing asphalt for paving and patching and paver rental for a variety of road projects. And this one just struck me as interesting, representing the how many different rec programs we have. To LQR Ventures in the amount of $1,633.80 for the instructional fee for the Junior Engineering Camp, which was one of the youth recreational programs held this summer. The claims all appeared to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Thank you, Chris. Discussion on any of those? Love that stem.
That's right.
Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Why don't you continue with the next one, Jason?
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the adoption of the proposed 2019 through 2021 capital improvement plan. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Second.
We talk every year about our budget development process, and the first step of that being the capital improvement plan. Capital improvements are the big dollar items, but they're very important items: equipment, infrastructure, software. The specifics can vary, and sometimes they're invisible. Sewer work, for example, is often hard to spot. But all of these are very, very important to our long-term future, our ability to provide quality services. And I'm going to let our Director of Finance, Paula Parker, just say a few words about this year's capital improvement plan.
This year's capital improvement plan, we saw increase by about $122,000 that will be an impact on our budget from 2018. There is an updated schedule in your packet. Click the link. There was a last-minute correction on that. So what that means is our rate per thousand impact is going to be about 4 cents to do all of the capital improvements, which amount to about $5.9 million, including debt and grants. Budget impact is about $2.7 million. So if your house is assessed for $200,000, it will cost you $8.12 to have our capital improvement plan implemented as adopted.
Thank you. Obviously, as you know, this is the first step of the process, but this is not the only bite you'll get at this apple of the capital improvements as proposed. And of course, this is a 3-year capital improvement plan, so we look out beyond just the 19 budget to 20 and to 21, which is something that the state comptroller encourages municipalities to do. A lot of them don't, but we've found over the years that it is a very valuable budget planning tool for us. But even the 2019 numbers that you're going to take action on tonight, as we go through the budget process itself, are not sacrosanct. And we will continue to work very hard. Paula and I have been meeting, spending an awful lot of time, trying to prioritize spending, trying to make sure we're projecting revenues accurately so that we can go out with a budget that, as we always do, balances the expectations of the community for the highest quality of services, while at the same time also keeps Brighton as affordable a community as we can make it. And those two objectives are often very difficult to manage, to balance. But that's our goal over the next really 6 weeks as we release at the next meeting a tentative budget, then hold public hearings at our 2 October meetings. So we have here the proposed resolution to adopt that. Are there any further comments from the board? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye.
And Bill, I noted your extensive article in the Brighton Connections magazine about the budget process.
Thank you.
It's recommended reading.
Yep.
Okay. Oops, let me get back here now. Got too far down the agenda here. Well, in any event, and Jason, I'll let you continue with the next item. I would note that the resolution that you have for this next item really addresses 2 different sets of public hearings. Not only does it address the public hearing on our operating and capital improvement budgets, which we will be submitting, but it also includes a separate public hearing on our special district budgets and assessment rolls for special district charges for 2019, required to be held pursuant to Section 239 of the town law. So while we have one resolution here, we will be noticing 2 separate public hearings on those items. So, Jason.
So the next matter is to set the first and second public hearing for October 10th, 2018 and October 24th, 2018, respectively, to consider adoption of proposed supervisors' 2019 preliminary operating and capital improvement budgets and special district budgets and assessment rolls for special district charges. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. Chris.
Next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute the sanitary sewer easement for properties located at 2740 and 2750 Monroe Avenue, along with the appropriate forms. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. And why don't you do the next one too, Chris?
Next item is to authorize the appropriation of the townwide lighting department, or in the townwide lighting department, of $4,279.87 from revenue account A.dpw.5182.2680, insurance recovery, to A.dpw.5182.4-49, contract services, to move $4,200 from one to the other account. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
All of those dots and accounts and everything else reflect a motor vehicle accident and an insurance recovery where a motorist struck a street light along Monroe Avenue. We recovered on insurance, and so we have to account for those monies and repair the light. I believe the light has been repaired.
I'm not sure, Bill.
Maybe not, okay. All right, but we got the money?
We did receive the funds.
Good, all right. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. Jason.
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize a budget transfer of $10,000 from account A.dpw.8510.2.66 Streetscape Site Development to A.dpw.5410.2.65 Townwide Sidewalk Construction Repair to construct a pedestrian crossing on Edgewood Avenue. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This is a project we've heard a lot about, and it's one that we've had to work a little harder than we thought we were going to have to. We weren't able to get the easement that we originally thought we would. But the goal here is to connect sidewalks along Edgewood Avenue, which on the south side of the 590 bridge are on one side of Edgewood, and when you get north of the bridge, they're on the other side. And boy, I don't know, you just shake your head looking at who did that construction work decades ago, who thought that would be a good idea, but someone did. And there's no good crosswalk. There's no way to, and we hear it a lot from folks in the Willow Bend area, folks in the Evans Farm neighborhood. So this fix and using the money that we had budgeted for implementation of our Bike Walk Brighton plan will hopefully make it a little safer. But remember, again, we talked about traffic safety earlier. Crosswalks are not, a magic force field. As a driver, when you see a crosswalk, I always ask people to imagine that there is a crossing guard there. Imagine that Ed Cohen's there, blocking your way. If you see someone, entering a crosswalk, stop. Let the pedestrian, let the cyclist go by. They have the right of way. If we do that, this will be $10,000 very well spent. So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Robin?
The next matter seeks to authorize a budget transfer in the amount of $10,000 from account A.DP. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I
Next one.
skip?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. The next matter seeks the authorization to solicit a request for professional qualification, RFQ statement, to be used to select a geotechnical firm to evaluate the feasibility of installing dry wells to address ongoing drainage issues on Washington Drive, and with funds available in the account D.HWY.5110.2.80. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This was mentioned briefly in passing earlier. Mike, do you want to just touch on this a little bit?
Just real quick, right now the water is discharged over a very, very, very steep bank and probably 200 feet in height. So we're hoping to eliminate that situation by putting in dry wells. We want to make sure that by putting in the dry wells, we don't do anything that we shouldn't do to the subsoils.
This is right along the Brighton-Penfield
Yeah.
line north of Penfield Road.
And how do those dry wells work, Mike? Just filled with gravel, like?
Generally, the dry wells, you can do it a couple ways, Chris, but you can actually have hollow dry wells where the water just goes in and it seeps into the soils. So they just work as a big storage tank and ultimately infiltrate into the soils for the next storm. And that's kind of where we'd be looking for.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Chris?
Next item is for authorization to solicit a request for professional qualifications, or RFQ, statements to be used to select a consulting firm to assist the town in evaluating and developing options for upgrading the existing lighting system at the town operations centers and changing them to LED lighting, as well as identifying and obtaining NYSERDA rebates and developing a capital cost for the proposed improvements with funds available in the account A.HWY.5132.2.30. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney for the town with all those dots.
Second.
Dotting those i's. Yes, this is, again, part of our sustainability efforts, putting a plan together so that we can convert lighting in the operations center to LED lighting, hopefully with those significant savings. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Dan, the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFanzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Robin.
Next matter seeks to authorize a bid award to Schichtel's Nursery, Inc. for landscape services at the Monroe Avenue GIGP project, as outlined is Group 1, deciduous trees, and authorize bid award to Horticultural Associates of Rochester for landscape services, as outlined Group 2, shrubs, and Group 3, perennials, and ornamental grasses. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
As you'll see from the attached correspondence, we had 3 submissions. One only bid on one of the groups, but you can see the grid there, and the ones that were the lowest were the ones selected. So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? If none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Jim?
Yes. Next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute a grant disbursement agreement for the Farmers Year-Round Market State and Municipal Facilities Grant Program in the amount of $500,000, and authorize the town attorney to renew the agreement and prepare for an opinion of counsel as required by DASNY.
Yes, Dormitory Authority.
Dormitory, yeah, right. And let's see, and I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town, dated August 15th. And also Mike Guyan from the Department of Public Works, that his letter was also submitted.
Second. Second. Good, thank you. Chris? Any discussion on that? More of the process of getting the farmer's market money. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Jim, I'll have you do that.
All right, next one is authorization for the Town Justice Court to apply for the 2018 to 2019 JCAP, which is a grant funds for the purchase of a 65-inch television and a new locking file cabinets. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorneys of the town.
Can I have a second?
Second.
And goes without saying, the TV is not for watching a
Not for
big football game in
NFL
February. One of our 2 courtrooms has a TV now, the other one will, and it's very helpful in terms of the presentation of evidence, so that, if necessary, a jury and certainly the parties can see what's being presented. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? JCAP, by the way, is Justice Court Assistance Program. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Robin?
The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to appoint Aaron Ryan to the position of chairperson of the Sustainability Oversight Committee for the remainder of the current 2-year term ending December 31st, 2018, and for a new 2-year term beginning January 1st, 2019, and ending December 31st, 2020. I move on the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
Thank you. Ron's other business activities, he felt he just couldn't continue. Ron Wexler, who's been just a fantastic chair of that committee, and I have no doubt that Aaron will carry on just as well. Aaron, great expertise in the area of sustainability. Ron's term would have ended on December 31st anyway, so we're just going to, for continuity's sake, appoint her now for that full 2-year term afterwards.
I believe Erin was here earlier. She's a real community asset. She worked with Comprehensive Plan, and that I worked with her when I was liaison. Robin, you're working with her now as well. But thanks to Ron for doing a great job.
And Ron will
Last
stay
couple
on the
of years.
committee.
Oh, you will, excellent.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
he's offered to do that, just not as chair.
But you did
So
a
that's
great job of moving the meetings along and riding herd on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I will mention that Aaron is the current deputy chair of the food committee, so we're maintaining a lot of
Natural
continuity there.
progression.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's important, having that continuity, moving people in that way, the experience she's had. We have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye, Chris.
Next item is to authorize the amendment to the table of organization for the Brighton Consolidated Sewer District to add one position of skilled laborer and delete the position of laborer, as well as to approve the appointment of Alex Fasanella to the position of skilled laborer effective September 13, 2018.
Second.
And really, the work requirements and his experience make this an appropriate move because the work he's doing really goes beyond what a laborer would do. So we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Jim.
Next item is to authorize the supervisor to reappoint Steve Ward to the Board of Assessment Review effective October 1, 2018, for a 5-year term effective October 1, 2018 through September 20th.
Oh, that should say 30. September 30th.
Yes, September 30th through 2023. I move in the resolution is prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And yes, the resolution has it correct. Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Chris. And thank you, Steve, and thank you for your willingness to continue on what is it?
It's a hard work.
It's a hard-working board, particularly after the revaluation that we had this year. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye, and Jim, I'll let you do the next
Next
one.
item is to set a September 26, 2018, as a public hearing date for parking restrictions for Glen Road local law. I move in the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
This again was mentioned earlier, and we reviewed it just to make sure we get some fairly minor changes, but I think it will better reflect the actual condition and signage out there on Glen Road. We did have a meeting just the other day with our Glen Road advisory committee. It discussed some of the ideas that particularly Dennis Adams, the chair of that committee, and we've seen improvements. We've particularly seen improvements in parking over there. One of the reasons is because enforcement has been a real deterrent on parking. I know when I've been out there, I've seen people more likely to use the turnaround and go back once the parking marked as legal is filled up. I've seen our officers go in. But we know we still have issues particularly relating to erosion, which is a function of people clambering down the banks that have really destroyed a lot of the underbrush there, as well as people in the water. And I want to repeat, there was a great article in the Democrat and Chronicle. We do ask, and we do more than ask. It is the law. People are not allowed in the water there for a number of reasons. One, because of the environmental impact. Two, because of the riskiness of being in very slippery, fast-flowing water. We're going to continue to enforce all of the laws down there. We're going to work with the police department and make sure we've got a good enforcement plan, but more importantly, a good education plan. And I must say, it's very disturbing that sometimes signage is removed. The signs are there for a reason. We're not putting these restrictions in place to be punitive. We do have a severe erosion control issue along Corbett's Glen, and we do ask that people act accordingly. You don't have to go in the water to experience nature. You don't have to go in the water to see the Postcard Falls. It is a beautiful nature park with lots of changes in elevation, lots of wildlife. There are other places to go if you want to go in the water. I mean, I got to be very blunt about that. So we've got this local law being proposed for parking. Motion has been made. It's been seconded. If there's any further discussion, seeing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris?
Next item is to receive, file, and adopt the finding statement for Envision Brighton 2028 Comprehensive Plan. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
And again, as we mentioned earlier, the finding statement is the culmination of the review of the Envision Brighton Comprehensive Plan update under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR. And thank you again to Ramsey. Thank you again to our consulting team. Part of their mission was to do the SEQR work, not always as sexy as the actual plan, but very important, and its legality depends on it. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the finding statement? As was noted earlier by Molly, really very positive feedback on the plan itself with no adverse comments on the environmental. Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the acquisition of one parcel of land containing approximately 26 acres located on Westfall Road within the town for the maximum estimated cost of $1,256,015, appropriating said amount therefore, authorizing the issuance of up to $995,000 in serial bonds of the town to finance said appropriation, authorizing the expenditure of up to $209,225 from the town's Parks Reserve Fund, and authorizing the expenditure of up to $51,790 from the town's Quality of Life Reserve Fund. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by bond counsel to the town.
Second.
And this all?
And by the attorney to the town, I correct myself.
And this all relates to the financing of the acquisition of the additional land in Bucklet Park. We have a motion and a second. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor, can I have a motion to receive and file the July 2018 expense and revenue report?
So moved.
Second.
Paula, anything you want to know? Nothing? This is just our regular
It's a
monthly action,
regular-
and we will
Yep, and
take action and have a more detailed review at the end of the third quarter.
we will. We'll have August for our next board meeting. The August will be prepared, and then in October, you will certainly get your fill of me. We'll be doing our budget, and I'll have the quarterly review for you then.
Very good. We have a motion and a second to receive and file that. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. We began tonight our 2018 Brighton Citizens Police Academy. Sergeant Allison Lawbacher is leading the Police Academy this year. Tonight she was team teaching a little bit with Chief Henderson. And we've got about, I think, 18 people in the class, in the academy this year. If feedback from past years is any indication, it's a great experience. Dan, I know you have been through it. And it's it's a natural part of our community policing program. And Mark, I don't know if you want to say anything about the police academy?
I was conflicted, continue teaching or come to the board meeting. Here I sit.
And here you are. But I appreciate Allison, and one of the great parts of the police academy is it really does focus on the entire law enforcement and criminal justice system. They'll be hearing from outside agencies and getting to know our department better, and that's why it's so integral to our community policing concept. So thank you, Mark, for your continued leadership in keeping that program going. And again, as Mark Kokonovich said earlier, homecoming this weekend. Matters of the attorney. Matters of the town clerk.
Just a couple of quick notes. School tax collection is speaking of this district, is in full go right now. The first installment, the due date on the bill is September 15. Obviously, that's Saturday. So anytime that happens, we roll forward to the next business day. So anybody coming in on Monday or anything postmarked Monday up through Monday will be considered timely for that installment. And then we'll be collecting right through October 1st for fulls. And just another reminder that we installed, thanks to the board for approving my purchase last year, the new payment drop box located at the rear of Town Hall. So at entrance number 9, if you aren't able to get here during office hours, you can always drop your payment then. And if you're running a little bit late, call ahead. I'm happy to stick around so you can come in within reason. And then tomorrow, being for those folks enrolled in the Democratic Party here in Brighton, the primary is tomorrow at all the usual locations. Good reminder, 12 p.m. is the start, since it is a primary in Monroe County, thanks to a unfortunate couple of lines in New York state law.
Yeah.
But which hopefully someday will change, but until then.
Well, I just learned something yesterday, Dan. Erie County, until
opens at 6.
Until I think just this cycle. Everything from Westchester south was the full day, and everything north didn't open until noon. Erie County took action. I don't know the exact nature of what they did, but I would certainly hope that Monroe County would take similar action, because you're right. The last thing we should be doing is restricting access to voting times. People are used to, so many people come in to vote on their way to work in the morning, or it's just how they start their day. So I would certainly encourage our representatives, but more importantly, county, the county executive's office as well. Let's get Monroe County voting all day in primaries. Turnout drops precipitously in primaries. There's a lot of reasons for that, but one of them is the hours of operation. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Matters of the board. Robin.
Just wanted to highlight some of our recreation programs. If you're making plans for the fall, the Town of Brighton Fall Program registration has begun. Take a look at all of our available fall program options in our recreation brochure. Classes are starting soon, so be sure to register early to secure your spot. Check out our full listing of programs, activities, and special events that the whole family will love. Use keyword search feature online to easily find what you're looking for. That is a new feature. Registration is available online, by mail, or in person at the Recreation Department. Spaces in all programs and activities are filled on a first-come, first-served basis, and so register early to avoid disappointment. You can check out, again, all of our exciting programs at www.townofbrighton.org/rec, R-E-C. And I did just want to highlight that we do have an after-school program if you're still looking for quality, safe, flexible, affordable, and fun after-school programs for your kids.
That's a lot in one package.
That's right. We do it all here at Brighton. The Recreation Department after-school program is available for children in 1st through 5th grades at CRPS and FRES, and is held daily at the Brookside Recreation Center until 6 p.m. Full details can be found online, or we'd be happy to send you a parent handbook. Just call us at 585-784-5260, extension 0 for more information. And as always, please do join us at our Sunday farm market from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Brighton High School parking lot for the season. That is at 1150 Winton Road South. We're celebrating our 10th anniversary year again this year, so we've got lots of special programming. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yes, just to reemphasize what we've been talking about tonight, the no parking on Glen Road. Please observe those. Help us restore what has been a beautiful natural setting there in the pond, or I should say the creek. And let's get it back to what it was again, so that we all can enjoy it for now and for generations to come. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss the employment of a particular person and property tax certiorari litigation?
So moved.
Second.
Close call there.
I
I think Jim won. Dan, please call the roll on that motion.
Councilmember Vogel?
Aye.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Thank you, everybody. Again, our next town board meeting will be September 26, 2018. Hope to see you there. Have a great evening, everyone.